King Harold Godwinson of England, Duke William of Normandy, two kings will meet.
Draw!
One will fall. A kingdom will be changed forever. In the year 1066, the fate of England stood balanced on the edge of a sword. The death of King Edward the Confessor had left a throne without an heir and a kingdom without peace. What followed was not merely a succession crisis, but a collision of destinies that would shake the very foundations of medieval Europe. Edward had died childless. His crown, once heavy with divine right, now floated in a storm of ambition and blood. Three men reached for it. The first, Harold Godwinson, the powerful Anglo-Saxon earl, chosen by the Witan, the Council of Nobles, and crowned king. The second, William, Duke of Normandy, who claimed that Edward had promised him the throne, and that Harold had sworn an oath to support him. An oath taken, he claimed, on holy relics. To William, this wasn't politics, it was betrayal. And the third, Harald Hardrada, the fearsome Viking king of Norway, who believed a long-forgotten agreement gave him rights to England. With an axe in hand and a fleet at sea, he would take what he believed was his. It was a year of war, a year where kings were made and unmade not by councils or courts, but by blades and bloodshed. In September, Harold marched north and defeated the Viking army of Harald Hardrada at the brutal Battle of Stamford Bridge. A victory soaked in exhaustion. Harald Hardrada died on battlefield with Harold Godwinson's traitor brother. But even as Harold's army stood victorious, battered and bruised, a storm was brewing across the English Channel. William had landed. With a force of knights, archers, and hardened soldiers, numbering nearly 7,000, he stepped onto English soil with one goal: to take the crown by fire and steel. He built a wooden fort at Hastings and waited. Harold had no time to rest. He marched his weary men over 250 miles in less than 2 weeks. No reinforcements. No time to gather more forces. Just grit, loyalty, and urgency. They took position on Senlac Hill. Forming a formidable shield wall, one of the most feared formations of Anglo-Saxon warfare. The two armies at Hastings could not have been more different. King Harold's army was built on tradition. It had no cavalry, no archers in great numbers, just men on foot, standing firm. At its heart were the Huscarls, professional warriors sworn to the king. Clad in chainmail, they carried giant axes, two-handed and brutal. Loyal, disciplined, and fearless, they were Harold's strongest line of defense. Surrounding them were the Fyrd, ordinary men called from farms and villages. Not soldiers by trade, but fathers, sons, and craftsmen, answering their king's call. Some wore leather or cloth. Many had no armor at all. Their weapons were simple: spears, axes, and short swords. Yet they stood with courage, shoulder to shoulder, in a great shield wall, a human fortress across the ridge. William's Norman army, by contrast, was a force of strategy and structure. It was divided into 3 core units: archers, infantry, and cavalry, each with a clear role in battle. Harold Godwinson and the Anglo-Saxons held the advantage on the hill, while William and his army were at a disadvantage, forced to attack uphill. In the Norman army, the front line was composed of archers, poised to unleash a rain of arrows upon the enemy shields. Behind them stood a second line of well-trained infantry. These foot soldiers, armed with long spears, typically advanced in tight, disciplined formations. And finally came the Norman knights, elite horsemen clad in armor, wielding lances and swords, charging with deadly speed. These knights were the future of warfare, fast, heavy, and disciplined. Many of them were descended from Vikings, but they spoke Norman French, not Norse. They rode not only with strength, but with tactics. This was not just a clash of kings. It was a battle between 2 visions of war. One rooted in tradition, the other marching toward a new era. October 14th, 1066, the day history would not forget. The Normans struck first, their archers loosing waves of arrows into the English lines. But the shield wall held. Infantry charged uphill, but again, the English refused to break. The hill was their strength. Each Norman push was repelled with ruthless efficiency. The battle raged for hours. Then came a turning point, born not from strength, but from illusion. The Normans began to feign retreat. Some say it was planned. Others believe it was chaos turned opportunity. But the result was the same. Parts of the English line broke formation to chase the fleeing Normans. And that was the mistake. The shield wall opened. The Normans turned, regrouped, and slammed back into the exposed flanks. With the line fractured, William's cavalry surged forward. The balance tipped. Then, a single arrow flew, a moment so iconic that it blurred the line between legend and fact. Harold was struck, perhaps in the eye. The king fell. The Saxon line collapsed with him. Without their leader, the English resistance crumbled. As dusk fell, the hill was painted in blood. The crown of England lay unclaimed in the mud, until William picked it up. He was crowned King of England on Christmas Day, 1066, in Westminster Abbey. But this was no mere transfer of power. It was a conquest, a cultural earthquake. England was invaded for the last time. A powerful ruler William the Conqueror emerged onto the stage of history. The Anglo-Saxon elite were replaced by Norman lords. French became the language of the court. Feudalism took root in the English land. Castles rose across the land. England would never be the same. The Battle of Hastings was more than a fight for a crown. It was the violent birth of a New England, one forged through ambition, betrayal, and blood. What began as a power struggle ended as a transformation. The echoes of that day still resonate, etched into the landscape, the language, the law. And in that single, desperate year, 1066, history turned a corner and never looked back.